Good morning, and we are in chapter 20 of Genesis, and we've got a lot to go because we're going to do 21 as well. And Abraham journeyed from thence toward the south country, and between Kadesh and Shur, and sojourned in Gerar. I probably should pull up maps, but I'm not going to in this thing. There are maps in the edition, the map section in the scriptures, I believe, which would help. But for now, I'm not too worried about all the little details. It's kind of nice to see, but I think we're just going to get through it today. And Abraham said unto Sarah, his wife, "She is my sister." So he's using the same thing he used in Egypt, and this time it doesn't say anything about God telling them to do that because he might die, but there seems to be that same feeling that, hey, maybe this is what we should be doing anyway. And Abimelech, the king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. The same thing happens. But look what happens. But God came to Abimelech, I'm just going to say Abimelech, in a dream by night, and said unto him, "Behold, thou art but a dead man, for the woman which thou hast taken, for she is a man's wife." So really, I feel it's sort of like a play, playing out, or a way that the Lord is trying to reach Abimelech, in the sense of, this is serious, almost like saying, you know what, you need to repent. And Abimelech says, "I had not come near her." And he said, "Lord, wilt thou slay a righteous nation?" And notice in there as a footnote, or innocent nation. So it's basically, he's saying, well, I didn't do anything. Would you slay us who are innocent? And he said, "Not unto me, he is my sister." Said he not unto me, he is my sister? And she even said she herself said, "He is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and innocence of my hands, I have done this." Now, I think what the Lord is getting from him is, where is your heart? Let me see your heart. You need to let me know where your heart is. I know where it is, but I want you to admit it. And so here he gets this innocence, from the Lord. And now you can kind of see how it pulls together. "And God said unto him in a dream, Yea, I know that thou didst this in the integrity of thy heart, for I also withheld thee from sinning against me. Therefore suffered I thee not touch her." So God also said, well, all those little things that you had to do that you weren't able to go and see her, that was me. "Now therefore restore this man his wife, for he is a prophet." Now he can tell him something. He says, "Restore this man his wife, for he is his prophet, is a prophet." And now Abimelech is ready to hear these things. "And he shall pray for thee, and thou shalt live. And if thou shalt restore her not, know thou that thou shalt surely die, thou and all thine that are thine. And Abimelech rose early in the morning, and called his servants, and told them all the things in their ears. And the men were sore afraid. And Abimelech called Abraham, and said unto him, What hast thou done to us? And what have I offended thee, that thou hast brought on me my kingdom a great sin? Thou hast done deeds unto me that ought not be done. And Abimelech said unto Abraham, What sawest thou that thou hast done this thing? And Abraham said, now this is interesting, because this is not what he did in Egypt, at least not what is written. Because thou thought, surely the fear of God is not in this place. Because I thought, surely the fear of God is not in this place. He's trying to save their lives here, and they will slay me for my wife's sake. And yet, indeed, she is my sister. She is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother, so half-sister, basically, and became my wife. And it came to pass that God caused me to wander from my father's house, that I said unto her, This is thy kindness which thou showed unto me, that every place whither we come, say unto me, He is my brother. Now remember, in Abraham, he does this when he goes to Egypt because the Lord tells him to, and maybe he sees that as a go-to now, and that's what it seems like. Abimelech took sheep, oxen, and manservants and maid and women servants, and gave them unto Abraham, and restored to him his wife Sarah. Interesting how this works out, that he gets all these things, but remember, he's thinking, the Lord said this, so I'm going to do even more to help Abraham out because he's a prophet of God. And Abimelech said, Behold, my land is before thee, dwell there where it pleaseth thee. And unto Sarah he said, Behold, I have given thy brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Notice there's that slight sarcasm there. Behold, he is to thee a covering of the eyes, unto all that are with thee, and with all other. Thus she was reproved, saying, You know what? You lied to me too. Abraham prayed unto God, and God healed Abimelech and his wife and his maidservants, and they bare children. So notice it says God healed them, and then it says, For the Lord had fast closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech, because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. I don't know exactly what that means. I'm not going to pretend to. But what it does seem like has happened is that they had a similar thing where they can have children. And it might have been the fact that they had tried for years and they just haven't had children. And it wasn't just him and his wife. It seemed to be even the servants could not bear children. And then all of a sudden, because of what happened here and what Abraham praying for them, that God healed them and they started to have children. Maybe it was helping Sarah understand that she had that same difficulty and the Lord was there. Okay, we're going to go on to chapter 21, and hopefully we'll get through this as well. These are a lot to get through when you've got as much chapters is in the Bible, and we will not go through every single chapter, but these we will, because this is our origin story for the rest of the Bible. And the Lord visited Sarah, and as he had said, and the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken, and the Lord conceived and bare Abraham a son in his old age, and at the set time which God had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son, that it was born unto him, whom Sarah bare to him Isaac. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac, being 8 days old, as God had commanded him. And Abraham was 100 years old, and his son Isaac was born unto him, when his son Isaac was born to him. And Sarah said, God hath made me to laugh, and remember, this is also rejoice, so that all that hear will rejoice with me. And she said, who would have said unto Abraham that Sarah should have given children suck? For I have borne him a son in his old age. And the child grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a feast in the same day that Isaac was weaned. So I think that's an interesting way that maybe we should have a feast every time a child is weaned. I don't know. It's just kind of fun. Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, which she had borne unto Abraham, mocking. So Isaac seems to be mocking. Remember, Isaac's probably a teenager or something, but he's mocking Abraham, his father, and that just doesn't seem right. And Abraham said, wherefore, or Sarah saw him mocking, and mocking probably Sarah, but still not a very good thing to be doing. Wherefore she said unto Abraham, cast out this bondwoman her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, even with Isaac. Now this seems harsh. It might be, I don't know. But it might also be her feeling that this is the way forward. This is what needs to be done. And we'll find out that it is what the Lord wants done. The thing was very grievous in Abraham's sight because of his son. And God said unto Abraham, so let's see what God says unto Abraham. Let it not be grievous in thy sight because the lad, and because of thy bondwoman, in all that Sarah hath said unto thee, hearken unto her voice, for in Isaac shall thy seed be called. Hearken unto her voice. So however Sarah got to the point where she said, yeah, they need to go, the Lord was saying, yeah, she's right, they need to go, but it's not because there's something bad about them. It's because that's how we're going to fulfill the promises I've given you. And also the son of the bondwoman will I make a nation, because he is thy seed. So Abraham's looking and going, well, I shouldn't do this. And then God says, well, actually, it's part of my plan. Always has been. And then there's the side note here. What role did Ishmael play in fulfilling God's promise to Abraham? Although the Lord declared that the Abrahamic covenant would continue through Isaac, Ishmael also played a role in fulfillment of Abraham's promised blessings, particularly the promise that Abraham's posterity would be as innumerable as the dust of the earth. When Ishmael was in Hagar's womb, the Lord promised that he would multiply Hagar's seed exceedingly. Later, the Lord told Abraham that Ishmael would make a nation because he is thy seed. So there's the promises there. And also the son of the bondwoman. Okay. Abraham rose up early in the morning and took the bread and a bottle of water and gave it to Hagar, putting it on her shoulder and the child, and he sent her away, and she departed and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. Now, one thing I just want to point out here, first of all, he didn't just kick him out. There's a tenderness here. He's still doing what the Lord wants him to do, and the Lord never said that they shouldn't have the bread and the water. And they go to the wilderness of Beersheba, which also means, wherefore called he the place Beersheba, because they swear both of them. Because there they swear both of them. And if you put, where is it? Sorry. It's supposed to be, one of the things is that God hears me again. And the water was spent in the bottle, and she cast the child under one of the shrubs. So they got to the point where they wandered in the wilderness, then the water was spent. They obviously were in some desert place, and she put the child under the shrub. She went and sat down over against him, a good way off, as it were a bow shot. For she said, let me not see the death of my child. I think that would be so hard. If you ever think about it, this is, again, another sacrifice. Isaac is not the only one that was faced as a sacrifice and then spared at the last minute. Here we have probably just as dramatic an experience where she doesn't want to see her own child die. And she sat over against him and lifted up her voice and wept. And God heard the voice of the lad. Notice it was the lad that he heard the voice of. And the angel of God called Hagar out of heaven and said unto her, what aileth thee, Hagar? Fear not, for God hath heard the voice where the lad is. God hears us where we are. I think that's an important part of everything that we've read today. Abimelech and everybody else, even down to Isaac. Ishmael under the hedge. Arise, lift up the lad, and hold him in thine hand, for I will make him a great nation. And God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. And she went and filled the bottle of water and gave the lad to drink. And God was with the lad. That is important. It doesn't say, the lad grew up. It says, God was with the lad, and he grew, and dwelt in the wilderness, and became an archer, and he dwelt in the wilderness of Paran. And his mother took him a wife out of the land of Egypt. And it came to pass that at that time, that Abimelech and Phicol, the chief captain of the host, spake to Abraham, saying, now we're going back to Abimelech, saying, God is with thee, and all that thou doest. Now therefore swear unto me here by God, that thou wilt not deal falsely with me, nor with my son, nor with my son's son, but according to the kindness that I have done unto thee, that thou shalt do unto me, and unto the land wherein thou hast sojourned. The thing I love about this is that if he couldn't have children, now he's saying, I have not dealt falsely with thee, so why don't you make a deal with me on my son, the one that I couldn't have had until now, and his son that I never would have seen. And Abraham said, I swear. And Abraham reproved Abimelech because of the well of water, which Abimelech's servants had violently taken away. I don't know anything about that. Abimelech said, I wot not who hath done this thing. He doesn't know what's going on. Neither didst thou tell me, neither yet heard I of it. But today Abimelech seems to have an integrity. So everything that Abraham throws at him, he comes back and he has that integrity. Abraham took sheep and oxen and gave them unto Abimelech. Both of them made a covenant. And Abraham set 7 ewe lambs of the flock by themselves. And Abimelech said unto Abraham, What mean these 7 ewe lambs which thou hast set by themselves? And he said, For these 7 ewe lambs shalt thou take of my hand, and they may be a witness unto me that I have digged this well. And he called the place Beersheba, again, the well of the old, or the well of 7. And because they swear both of them, thus they made a covenant at Beersheba. And then we have some Joseph Smith version of this as well. Then Abimelech rose up and Piscal, the chief captain, and his host, and they returned to the land of Philistines. And Abraham planted a grove in Beersheba and called there the name of the Lord, that the everlasting God. And Abraham sojourned in the Philistines' land many days. Now this is interesting. It's just turned around a little bit. Then Abimelech and Fiscal, the chief captain of his hosts, rose up, and they planted a grove in Beersheba, and called there on the name of the Lord. And they returned to the land of the Philistines. And Abraham worshipped the everlasting God, and sojourned in the land of the Philistines many days. So it was Abimelech and Fiscal that planted the grove. And just an interesting side note there. Anyway, I hope you got some things out of here, and that you know that God will hear you wherever you are. And we'll see you tomorrow.